You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hello and welcome to episode 110 of the Soul Forge podcast. I'm your host Shawn, and I have a special treat for you folks this week. As promised, for the last couple episodes, you're going to listen to the drunk episode. Stephanie and I recorded 5 episodes back at the end of February of this year, and I've been releasing them every 5. So this is the 5th and final one. You're going to hear me, you're going to hear Stephanie, you're going to hear Karen, and you're going to hear Jason. Now the secret, the trick here, is that Stephanie and Karen didn't think I should release this episode because it's pretty incoherent. I sound like a raving fool, and they tried to keep me on track, and they were concerned that maybe it comes across that they gave me too much alcohol. Well, what I found out is that Stephanie and I shared some beer. I poured myself a 40 Creek and Coke, and then Karen made me a drink, but she only put a splash of the Kraken in because she saw how intoxicated I was. So just enough that I could smell it, but not actually enough to do anything to me. I thought it was a full drink of booze, and apparently it wasn't. So I've already listened to the episode. Tracy has listened to the episode, and it's friggin' hilarious. I think you'll enjoy it. I sound like an idiot. I'm not going to edit it at all. The only editing point is where I'm going to put in the theme tune as well as a promo about 8 minutes into the actual recording. Other than that, I'm leaving in all the dead air, all the things, so you can hear what it sounded like in all its glory, totally unedited, raw, and funny. Would love to get your opinions on it. Any kind of feedback is great. Next week we'll return to regular episodes, and this concludes the Stephanie cycle. Hope you enjoy, and we'll talk to you next week. Stay tuned for episode 110.
I'm trying to find.
Hey! Welcome to episode blank of the Soul Forge podcast.
Welcome to the Soul Forge, a place of silent mystery, quiet contemplation, and outright mayhem. Join your host, Shawn Vanderloo, as he guides you through the adventures of living. Together, we'll talk about life and love, sex and dating, joy and heartache, memories and loss, and so much more. Don't worry, it's not nearly as pretentious as it sounds. Get ready for life, the universe, and everything on the Soul Forge.
Hey gang, it's another episode in the Stephanie cycle of podcasts, and I'm friggin' drunk. I've had, how many cans of beer, Steph?
Okay, so we have 4 cans that we have split. So you've had 2 cans of beer, Shawn.
2 cans of beer. I had 1.5 ounces of 40 Creek. And what did you just make me, Karen?
You were drunk before that.
I think,
Kraken?
yeah.
I do believe you're having
boy.
a Coke now.
I'm having a Kraken and Coke.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I am.
That's exactly right.
And what is this episode about? I don't friggin' know. We're just having talks and saying words.
This is so much
and
fun.
we're waiting for the... Who's coming?
So when I got here, you'd only had 2 beer?
I guess I'd only had 2 beer. But I don't drink beer. So... I guess it made me a little bit tipsy, and then I had some 40 Creek, and then I got a little bit more drunk, and now you've made me Kraken, and Kraken's 40%, 47% dark spiced rum. That's the good stuff kids go for. And I'll tell you what, I don't know what we're talking about, and you guys are looking at me like I'm crazy.
It's so much fun.
And we're waiting for burgers and poutine that you ordered, right?
Yes.
Yes. Stephanie, quit looking at your phone. Tell me what we're talking about.
Well,
What's our topic this week?
This one was called
Drunkcast.
Drunkcast. It was the drunk one.
Because
So-
I am.
I
And
think
we
it's
are.
the Drunk Shawn episode.
Drunk Shawn episode.
It's the Drunk Shawn episode. What are we going to discuss this week?
Whatever organically comes up.
And what is coming up so far?
I don't know. So far, in the last 1 minute and 50 seconds, has been the introduction to the show.
True, because I did play the promo, not the promo, the
That will be
the intro theme that Jarman from a Play on Nerds podcast recorded for me because I asked him to. And you said you liked his voice.
Nice. Yes, I really do like his voice.
He lives in Florida. I have never met him in person.
That's really cool.
I'm hoping to take a trip down there one day and see him and say hello and give him a nice hug and say, hey, let's do a podcast together because we can.
Okay, don't say it too slowly or else you might lose him at let's do it.
Oh.
And then, whoop, whoa, no more hugging, Shawn.
Well, he is
Weird Canadians.
he's a handsome man, but he's 10 years younger than I am. So there's a bit of an age difference, and neither one of us are gay. So I don't think anything would happen.
The age difference doesn't matter, but neither one of you are gay.
That might get in the way of things.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, as we know from
Absolute-
Seinfeld.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Yes. I have mixed feelings about Seinfeld and his joking about things, but that's a whole. Then we get into the whole thing about my mom, and I don't want to get into that.
That's the doorbell. You should go check and see if the Putin is here.
Oh my God, Putin!
Live on the podcast, it's Putin.
It's Putin. It's becoming ASMR. Yeah, we're going to eat Putin
On
right
the
into
pod?
that microphone.
Because people go for that kind of weird
It's
sound
very
thing.
fucked up. Excuse my language, but I might swear on this
Oh,
one.
now I have to put an E on the thing in iTunes or whatever it goes.
Do you know what that means?
Tell me.
You will get more listeners.
I'll get more listeners if there's...
Soul Forge with an E. How do they swear on it? That was your phone saying, "Ding, you have a message."
No, I don't.
Someone has a
There's
message.
nobody at the door?
Nobody at the door.
Okay,
That was
so
weird.
there was a ding.
Because we all clearly heard it, right?
I didn't hear anything.
I did. It sounded to me like it was a message or something coming into someone.
I wonder if they're at the front door.
That's brave because there's a lot of snow.
There's a lot of snow at
It's,
the front door.
it's very misleading though because you like shovel halfway.
I can
and then you
check,
just
but
stop.
I did say back door
'Cause
on the thing.
This
That's-
is Timmins.
that's-
Did you not realize? They seem pretty slow.
Thanks. I've lived here since I was 3.
You're,
I just mean the other people.
you're just saying that because Timmins is the land that culture forgot.
Very much so. Oh my God, it is the weirdest, saddest.
So we drove around
grayest,
town.
dirtiest town.
After
city.
After we recorded episode 235 of the Rusted Robot podcast, I took you around my mail route a little bit on 3rd Avenue and Pine Street. And what did you think of our town, Steph? What did you think?
I don't even really know how to put it into words. Just how depressed it made me feel.
So you're not going to move up here and live in my spare room?
I can't. Number one, there are too many tiny pieces of paper with glue on them that are all over the floor that have already kind of stuck to things that I didn't put them on.
Because you have a phobia of wet, sticky paper.
Yes.
Which I forgot from 20 odd years ago.
I have no idea what I just walked in.
Yes.
As I'm trying to get her to move up here and live in my spare room, so
It's
we can
just-
record podcasts together
Oh, okay.
and reminisce about our friendship from 20 odd years ago.
Unfortunately, he thinks that nothing exists south of Timmins.
That's not
Except
true.
maybe, I guess technically,
North
Sault
Bay.
Ste. Marie is south of
We
here.
were in Toronto not that long ago.
We
But
were.
That's just a fantasy.
Did that really happen, Karen?
It did.
Oh, by the way, Soul Forge listeners, not only is Stephanie here on the Stephanie Cycle podcast, our good friend Karen is here as well, which you have known her from previous episodes of the podcast as well. Say hi, Karen.
Hi.
You ordered poutine burgers for us
I did.
because I'm friggin' drunk and I don't even know what I'm saying half the time. But this Kraken is pretty good, 7% dark spice rum.
What now?
How many?
A what now?
47?
I don't
Heater.
know.
47%?
I didn't look.
Why not?
That's
What
you
the
keep
hell
saying
is
over.
wrong with you? You're giving me all this booze. You're feeding me booze.
What?
You don't know what the percent is. I'm saying words. People are listening to the podcast.
Word.
People are listening to the podcast and thinking, so that's what Shawn is like when he's drunk. I should have listened to the Frank episodes of the Rusted Robot podcast to know what Shawn sounded like when he was drunk.
The Frank episodes.
'Cause
The
every
one
ti-
with the cat? He doesn't even remember the cat that I gave him.
I don't remember you giving me a cat.
Yes, I couldn't take care of him. He was a beautiful, gigantic orange cat that you named Frank because you loved that name, because you had a friend named Frank.
And he was on the podcast several times. And
The cat?
No, Frank. Frank the man. Frank the man who lives in, just outside of North Bay.
Well, I've seen you talking to a cat, and I could totally see you inviting a cat on your podcast.
I talked to all the cats.
I know.
So sweet. And
I know.
That is yet another reason why you are the best guy that I've ever known.
Because cats are people too.
Yes, they are.
They are. Hey, you know what? Here's another podcast promo for an episode of the podcast of a what? What? I don't know. A promo. For
what?
A promo.
What?
For another episode
No.
of a podcast here on the ESO Network.
This week on Myopia Defend Your Childhood. Myopia Defend Your Childhood is a nostalgic movie podcast where we rewatch the movies of the 80s and 90s as we walk down memory lane. From action to animation, horror to sci-fi, we rewatch the movies my panelists and I grew up watching to see how our pasts hold up. Join us every other Thursday on the ESO Network. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Letterboxd, Spotify, iTunes, and wherever podcasts are found. Thanks.
How was that?
That was wonderful.
Was that the best promo you ever did here?
I've never seen those lines go so huge.
I think I'm talking really loud.
You
I
are.
do.
I'm going to have to edit the hell out of this podcast whenever it comes time to release this fucking thing. I said a bad word. I'm going to have to put an E on this episode. What the hell?
But that's a good thing, because then people will want to know why. Why is it so E?
Yeah.
Soulforge, they've had 90, 100 some episodes.
And all of a sudden, there's an
and
E.
then all of a sudden, what does they talk about?
Mike and Mike from the ESO Network. I'm sorry I'm swearing and saying bad words and stuff.
Is that the rule?
No, there's no rule.
Okay.
This is the Soulforge podcast.
I thought that the swearing was supposed to go in the other podcast that you talked about the other day.
The Rusted Robot podcast?
No.
What other podcast?
Now I'm forgetting.
What?
No, you were talking about doing a podcast where you got drunk and were rude.
This already happened?
Florida?
No, it didn't happen.
This is it. It's happening now, Karen.
That was when we were sitting in the car at the mall, and you were joking about another podcast that wasn't going to happen.
I don't recall these events. You're going to have to remind me, or we're going to have to drop this subject because I don't know what we're talking about. I have a very bad memory sometimes, especially when
believe you.
I've been drinking.
Yes.
Yes.
Holy crap.
Because I have a memory like a steel trap for certain events, but other times
I don't.
I have a memory like a steel trap that has a broken hinge.
It's super rusty.
Yes.
Yeah, mine
Well,
has
I
a few
know mine
holes
will,
in
like,
it.
But then you can also just...
It's like Swiss cheese,
yeah,
you know,
just-
certain
let's
things just...
I'll just... Oh, ow. Oh. Nope, not ow. I'll just move this off of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess this podcast really has no topic, and I hope our listeners are...
You're going to have so much fun editing this.
I'm not going
It's
to
been
edit
like
it
4
at
hours.
all, except for fixing...
You're gonna have to because look,
I have
before you
to-
were super loud and then here you're super quiet and mumbly.
I need to equalize the levels of the podcast, but there's no specific topic. And because our listeners have listened to 100 odd episodes of Soulforge, I think they'll give me this episode as a freebie.
They'll be like, "What? Oh, wow! He's changing this format up." That Stephanie really did some work with helping him get this onto some kind of a fun trajectory.
Richard from Australia. He often will leave a review.
Where I talk normally.
Yes.
I'm gonna talk now.
Yeah. So
Oh,
Richard...
I got bigger lines than you.
Richard from Australia often will leave a comment on the link for the episode on the Soulforge podcast page,
Nice.
which, if our listeners have not joined the Soulforge podcast page, they should, and listen and look at all of Richard's comments. Richard, this is a shout out to you. Appreciate you being a listener, and I know you've listened to drunk episodes of podcasts before that I've done, and
You've done podcast.
with Frank on Rusted
right,
Robot
right.
when we went camping and when he came
So
up to visit
Richard
me.
listens to Rusted Robot.
Richard has listened to all episodes of Rusted Robot, and then he joined me over here on the Soulforge when I created it.
Nice.
And he will often leave comments and his thoughts on the episode links.
Well, that makes me very happy.
Yes.
I'm glad.
Richard is one of my favorite listeners
Good.
because he actually comments.
Yes.
I like feedback. And if other listeners would like to leave feedback, soulforgepodcast@gmail.com or soulforgepod on Twitter.
You need to work on your sales.
What do you mean?
Just a tad.
Tell me more.
You really put me on the spot there.
I did. That's what I do. Well, just like when you put me on the spot at the end of Rusted Robot 235 that you were on, when you said, "What's your Patreon account so people can pay you for listening to episodes?" And I said it's patreon.com/Darth Vaderloo.
Yes.
Because Darth Vaderloo is my Twitter, my personal Twitter, and my Instagram
So
account.
do you have a Patreon then?
I do.
He does.
It's-
And here I thought you had said that, and then I remember you talking about how you really wanted to, you really wanted to get into this and to make this, wouldn't it be wonderful if I could get, make this my job so that I could
Yes.
really focus on it. And then you never ever mentioned Patreon.
Because I don't like begging listeners for money because it seems
Gonna have to,
desperate or something.
yes.
But I did calculate that with the hosting costs of the podcast
$10 an episode.
and the
You get
internet
one
costs,
person.
it's about $10 an episode.
An episode or a year, did he say?
An episode.
Okay.
$10 per episode because there's 52 episodes a year because I do it once a week.
It's a good thing you have fun with this.
I have so much fun podcasting,
Oh, my God, I
especially
love
when
it.
I've had a bit to drink. This is a rare kind of treat for our listeners here on Soulforge because I've had, I don't know what to drink.
2 cans.
2 cans of beer
And then 2 other drinks.
and 2 other drinks.
Yeah.
I think it's actually about like 3 cans of beer.
Maybe
Because
that's
that-
probably more than 1 full can.
That bottle of Chimay Belgian
Oh,
bullshit
it's fucking good.
is
It was
really
Belgian bullshit?
BelgianBullshit.com.
So I've decided. See, I always had. I still have this dream, and I think I mentioned this to you before. My mom does not believe that this is going to happen. I still believe that I am going to get married someday because I want more than anything, and I've put this energy into the. I want to say atmosphere, but that's my science.
Universe?
That's like fighting with science and faith. No, so I put my intentions into the atmosphere. That doesn't sound right. Into the universe, into the cosmos. I want to go on a fucking honeymoon. It's more about the honeymoon than the marriage for me.
Well, I have heard of people who take themselves on a honeymoon.
I don't want to do that. I want to share it with someone. I
can
love
understand
this
that.
whole idea of, love yourself before love can come in and all that kind of stuff.
I don't
And
think that's
I
true.
like to think that I'm very enlightened and I've been doing all the self-work and all that kind of shit. But god damn it, the reason why I write, the reason why I want to podcast, the reason why I want to publish, all of that kind of stuff is because I want to share my life and my experiences. For goodness sakes, I love me. I think I'm the best thing ever.
Since sliced bread because you're
Well, no, Betty White.
fascinating.
I really enjoy my company, and all I want to do is whenever I come across a miracle in real life is I want to share that miracle with others.
All I want to do is have some fun. Said the man next to me.
Out of nowhere.
Right?
I know. It was the craziest damn thing. I wanted to sell an album so bad. So I have always had this dream that I want to get married, but mostly because I want to have a honeymoon. It's like the only time that you can say, I'm just going to take off work for 3 weeks in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, why are you being so selfish? Honeymoon. Oh, go and enjoy it for me as well. So I've always had this one plan that I'm going to, I don't think they have it anymore, the actual thing, but they used to have, I'm not going to do that. What do they have? CN Rail. They still do have the SkyTrain, so it's like the glass train.
Yeah.
It goes across Canada, and you can get like a berth, and it's like your own hotel room.
think
They
they
used to
still have
have
that.
but they used to have the honeymoon package,
Oh, okay.
where you would get a bottle of wine and a chocolate on your pillow every fucking night.
That's romantic.
I would just stockpile all that fucking wine and take it with me afterwards. I don't think I wouldn't really enjoy it after a while of having a glass of wine every single night.
No.
But no, because then you're just like, oh yeah, it's great, but can you turn off the sun a bit?
Think of all the drunk podcasts you could record.
I don't want to be recording. I'm sorry. Maybe you can call me a romantic, but on my honeymoon,
You're a romantic.
Okay,
You
but I
just
don't
told
want
me
to.
to record.
I don't want.
You don't
to,
want to record your honeymoon.
Podcast. Yeah, I don't want to podcast my honeymoon. That's just for me.
I
And
thought a great
whoever-
idea would be to record a podcast while you're having sex and narrating the thing. What do you think?
You just ruined my honeymoon. That's what I think.
Oh,
Now
sorry.
everyone's like, I want to hear about sex, and
Well,
now
you
all
were-
my romance is gone.
You were talking about ASMR and people listening to like people drinking stuff and eating
drinking,
food.
like slurping coffee, and then you're like, sex
Yeah. What if you had sex and recorded it and narrated
on
your?
my honeymoon.
And
Just
narrate.
thanks.
How do you?
Buddy, buddy,
Oh my God! That
Look-
scared the shit.
Come here. Come here.
Biggest lines.
Come here. Look who it
There
is.
wasn't like a Putin person out there, was there? Because we've been trying to listen to the door,
I
but
think he might have been here. Because there was driveways.
Jason, come here. So talk into the microphone. You
I
haven't
don't
been.
know.
Podcasting.
You have not been on the Rust. Not this is not the Rust Robot. This is the Soulforge podcast
Hi, everybody.
in a while.
Hi.
I've been having some drinks.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Stephanie and I have recorded 5 podcasts in a row while steadily drinking more and more and more and more and more and more and
You
more.
have a shit ton of editing to do.
I'm not gonna, no. This is a drunk podcast. I don't have to edit it at all. That's the beauty of it.
And I'm not drunk yet, so what the hell?
How's it going? You haven't been here in a while.
There's some
It's been a
unopened
while.
beers right over there. I don't know what else he has.
I'm driving, so I'm not drinking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Stephanie.
I'm Jay.
Hi.
This is Stephanie, the first girl I had sex with.
Stephanie!
Yes.
Episode
Can I
31
hug you?
Episode
Yes?
31,
Oh my
Stephanie.
God, I'm
Just because.
Driver's on his way.
Who,
There
what?
we go.
We did not miss. The
I know so
Putin
much about you,
stuff.
but you don't even know.
The driver's on his way.
The platoon is on his way?
Yeah.
May I?
Sweet.
So who wants to stand upstairs and wait for it? Do you want me to do it? Because I'm
Sure,
I'm-
it's already paid for.
All right, well then I will go. Hi.
There. Yeah. Sorry.
I will go and stand and
I'm
wait for
famous.
Putin just because
So-
I'm the
Picture my
yeah.
fans.
You just
I'll
took
be
a
right
picture of
back.
me and Jason.
Okay.
And I just gave you a hug and you don't even know who the hell I am. So there you go.
No, except that I don't think that I have ever been greeted in such a wonderful way. That
I
will
totally
get me
missed
to
the greeting
Timmins.
because I was calling.
That will
about
get me
the
to
Putin.
Timmins more than anything else.
Your reputation precedes you because of episode 31.
Of course, what is sad about that is that I tried desperately to leave behind my slutty ways.
Oh.
And now,
Why would
I
you
am
want to
known.
leave behind slutty ways?
because I kind of wanted to grow past that.
Oh.
And if you listen to episode
31?
blank of the follow-up to episode 31,
Oh, the
you
one
will
where
find
we-
out the reason
Yes.
why I did that.
Because we listened to episode 31 where I talked about the first time I had sex with this chick right here. And then we recorded our impressions about the episode a year later after I recorded it. It's quite interesting.
I wouldn't say live past that episode. Live beside it. Live with it.
Okay. I can see
Embrace
that.
the
Embrace it.
past.
And if you think about it, you don't do it. That's kind of beautiful, the segue there, because you know more fully why that all happened. And so it's like live beside that and fully embrace it. It's like fully embrace the loving, beautiful gesture that I made.
Yes.
Selfless,
Yes.
loving
That's where I was
gesture.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She gave me a beautiful gift for my 20th birthday. It was called Loss of Virginity. And it was awesome. And I'll never forget it. And we've recorded
So
multiple
why would you want
episodes.
to live without that? That is
Well,
something.
for many, many years, I kind of carried that around as I knew that nothing was going to happen between us. And
Right.
he's a beautiful, sensitive soul. And
I'm a beautiful, sensitive soul. Did you hear that?
God, I hate talking to men sometimes. But no,
Right now,
and
you're
so-
ridiculous.
I
and
know.
so thinking about that.
I've been drinking and I feel pretty good.
I'm so
Aren't you
glad I
you
came over. I'm so glad I walked in on this. I don't think I should have missed this for the world, but
This is what you needed to see tonight, huh?
sort of, yeah.
Good.
It has turned my frown upside down for the moment.
Good.
That's good.
I'm here to brighten everybody's life and make everybody feel good. And I think this might be the end of the podcast. What do you guys think?
Oh.
Do we still have more to talk about?
I thought we were
I
just
don't
going to
know.
kind of let
You
it
know,
go.
if we just let it record and just talk, then you can edit later.
I'm not going to edit this at all because it's Drunkcast. Drunkcast.
He's the only
Maybe
one
we should
who's
have
drunk.
just like a recording.
I'm assuming that. I
of
kind of figured that
whatever
out.
organically comes up, and then if you have like a second.
But I will go
oh
wait
my
for
God,
Putin.
Here's
Okay.
like 10 minutes of gold. Or something
Right,
like that.
exactly.
But then there might be down periods of like not
Like,
so
okay,
great.
this is
Right.
boring. Let's cut this
Let's see,
chunk
cut this
out
chunk
because
out.
this
That's
is
just
funny,
that.
and you
I
just leave
don't-
the funny stuff.
What is he talking about?
Yeah,
They know they come to the back door, right?
they do.
Okay.
So they're coming to the back door.
Yes.
Yes.
Jason?
That's Jason.
Jason.
He's been on the podcast several times.
On Soulforge?
On Soulforge. Karen has been on Soulforge several times. You have now been on Soulforge 5 times in a row, although you're
But yet not.
spaced apart.
Yeah.
5 times in a row, but not.
Because we've been here all Saturday recording episode after episode after episode.
okay.
But I'm not going to post them one after another. I'm going to space them apart. Because that's
To
important.
keep people interested. They'll
Right.
hear the first one and be like, oh my God, I love Stephanie so much.
Yes.
I better tune in
I've been
because
on,
I
what,
never know.
2?
2 or 3 or 4. A bunch.
We
You,
need
three at least. You were on the Confidence Unmasked.
Right.
You were on the Sex episode.
Mm-hmm.
And you were on the Power of Fandom episode.
Okay, and then I was here when Christina was talking, but I didn't talk much.
Oh yes, you were also on the Tall Girl Problems. And you were on the Tarot Card reading one. Where all we heard was your laughter.
Okay.
So you've been around for a while. Yes. And I think this is where I'm going to end the podcast recording.
Okay.
Because
But this has to be recorded for all of eternity.
it is. People will
I'm
be...
Why do you want to end it now?
Because it's been going for about 25 minutes, and I don't know.
Maybe
And
I'll just record it on I'll just put the mic on and just let it record.
because I can't think of anything else we can talk about that's ridiculous.
It really doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't
That's
matter
like-
because something will come up and then you'll be like, okay, this whole bunch is boring, so I'm going to just cut this whole section out.
There's
But this
20
is
minutes gone.
hilarious.
It is hilarious, but the iPad is almost out of battery power.
Oh, well, that explains it.
Why
That-
didn't you
that-
just say that first?
That makes more sense than any of the rest of
I
it.
would have stopped arguing long ago and said turn it off.
Yeah.
And with that, we end the podcast. Bye-bye, folks.
Thanks for coming by the Soul Forge. Leave a 5-star review in the iTunes store. Send us emails,
if you wanna hear
soulforgepodcast@gmail.com.
If you want to hear more of Stephanie, pay $1. Pay $1 on Patreon.
Patreon.com/Darth Vader.
$1 per episode.
That's all we
Surely, that's enough for me to come on one more time.
At least one more time.
At least one more time.
That's right. And until next time, remember, perhaps the butterfly is proof that you can go through a great deal of darkness and still become something beautiful.
be about this cake.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
This has been another episode of the Soul Forge Podcast. Find us on Twitter at SoulForgePod or email the show via soulforgepodcast@gmail.com. Soul Forge is a production of Shawn Vanderloo and Friends. You can find Shawn on Twitter and Instagram at Darth Vaderloo. Remember to visit soulforgepodcast.com for all of our social media links and share the show with everyone you know. Thanks for stopping by the Forge. We'll keep the fires lit until your next visit. Do you enjoy pop culture? Of course you do. You're already listening to Pop Culture Podcasts here on the ESO Network. The Rusted Robot Podcast discusses movies, trailers, TV shows, space and robot news, and so much more. Won't you please join us for a pop culture overload wherever you listen to podcasts? TheRustedRobot.podbean.com, a proud partner of the Soul Forge Podcast here on the ESO Network.
The Rusted Robot Podcast. Think about it.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping through Amazon.com or the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. geekpod.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.